We are News New Mexico. It's Wednesday, November 9th, 2011. Jim Spence is here. I'm Michael Swickert. On our Newsmaker line, we are so glad to have it this time. Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.com. Welcome, Marita.
Good morning. Good to be with you again.
All right.
So, Marita, you wrote a column about Ken Salazar. Why don't you tell us about it?
Oh, well, I'm very fond of Ken Salazar. Actually, my first real introduction to him was about a year ago when he signed Executive Order 3310, not Executive Order, Secretarial Order. Just like President Obama, Secretary Salazar is fond of using orders, secretarial order in his case, to get around Congress. And last December, he signed SO 3310, which got around Congress to create a new designation of land called wild lands, because there's some lands in America that have a wilderness designation, and those lands are off limits to development, and the Congress would not expand more wilderness lands, so they just made a new designation called wild lands, which has the same thing. So this year, just last week, actually October 26th, Secretary Salazar surprised everyone, including his employees, including the people who work under him, by signing an order that states that the Office of Surface Mining, which controls coal mining, is going to be merged in with the BLM. And so that was a big surprise that came out. Even people in the Office of Surface Mining did not know that this plan was even in the works. And so it's quite a startling turn of events when you realize industry was not consulted, Congress was not consulted, the employees who will be impacted were not consulted. Nobody knew about this. And, of course, with the history of this administration, this brings up a great deal of suspicion.
So what you're basically saying is he's acting like king instead of like somebody who really needs to behave only according to the rule of law.
Well, yes. And again, he's acting like his boss acts, because President Obama, as we all know, is using executive orders to do things that could not be done legislatively. And for the way America is structured, that's just wrong. We don't need legislators if we've got kings.
So what's the effect? I mean, we know the Obama administration is on the record as basically trying to put the coal industry out of business, and we have good representatives like Ray Begay, the Democrat from San Juan County, who have smelled the rat and understand that the Obama administration will put a lot of Navajos out of work up in Four Corners area if they have their way. Is this going to further the cause of trying to kill the coal industry?
Yes, that's obviously when I said this whole thing, the surprise nature of this, the bombshell that he dropped, it indicates that is the case, as you said, because Obama has made it clear that he intends to ruin the coal industry, and that's what we could assume out of this. One of the things that will happen is the Office of Surface Mining has within its charter that it must permit mines, it must process applications within X number of days. And we're talking about, I believe it's about a 3-month time frame, where the BLM, and by comparison, which is now where the Office of Surface Mining is at least supposedly going to go, this order, SO 3315, which is this new order, will be effective December 1st. So we have less than 1 month to really call Congress and call your congressional representatives and let them know that you're not happy about this, because this will hurt jobs in New Mexico in the coal mining industry, which is up in the Four Corners area particularly, and it will hurt jobs nationwide. But bigger than hurting jobs, not that's I know that's kind of the big topic, and that is one of the issues of this, but bigger than hurting jobs is when we continue down this road to end coal-fueled electricity generation, we are, in fact, raising energy prices in America, because coal is clearly the most cost-effective way to generate electricity.
Marita, it isn't just that it's the most cost-efficient, it may be the only energy that's available to us at the right place at the right time so that we continue keeping the lights on.
Exactly, and natural gas. Coal and natural gas are both good sources for reliable energy that's all the time, that's there when you need it. When you flip the switch, you've got energy. It's not dependent on whether it's sunny out or whether the wind is blowing or anything else, but it is there for you 24/7. It works. And the other thing is that part of Obama's whole campaign against coal is going to shut down power plants. I mean, and we have not had this in New Mexico yet, although actually up in the Four Corners area, they have shut down some of the towers, some of the capability up in the Four Corners for New Mexico at our coal-fueled power plants, which provide a lot of our electricity for New Mexico and for Arizona. And in Texas, they're going to shut down power plants, in Ohio, and many places because of the EPA's regulations. So we already have the EPA attack on coal fuel power plants. Now we have the Department of the Interior, Secretary Ken Salazar, who is attacking the mining end of coal. So there's clearly an organized effort here, and no one's hiding it. But this secretarial order is a big surprise and needs to have some public attention to it, because it has to go through congressional committees to be approved before it goes into effect on December 1.
But how do they propose to make up for the loss of that generation capacity when we don't have that generation capacity?
Well, that's an excellent point, Michael, because, that we're going to be basically freezing in the dark is kind of the plan. Is when you look at it,
that's a good plan.
You draw it out to its logical conclusion, that's where you end up.
Well, and I'm confused, and I think a lot of people are, about this idea, this obsession with solar and with wind power. What happens at nighttime, and what happens when the wind doesn't blow quite so hard? I mean, is there anybody who understands the implication of trying to behave as if we can get ourselves in a position where we can just get completely off of coal?
Well, I mean, in order to build the wind and solar plants that are planned, that are on the docket, we've talked before about that. I've spent a lot of time in 2011 here with PNM putting together their integrated resource plan, which is how the integrated resource plan is how they're going to meet the New Mexico renewable portfolio standard. And it's clear that if we build wind and solar plants, we have to build natural gas plants to back those up. So in essence, we're paying for double, because that's how we have energy when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, is we have natural gas plants for backup. So we're paying for double the electricity that we basically need.
Well, I think the thing people need to understand is the density of the resource. Meaning, if you have a nuclear power plant, you can count on 2,000, 3,000 megawatts, just regularly, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And when you're talking about a wind farm, you're talking about 200 megawatts, and you're probably, according to the industry, going to get about 20. You get about 10% of what it's rated at.
Land usage is phenomenally different. The amount of land that a solar farm or a wind farm occupies compared to a nuclear power plant, it's like 100 times the land.
But it's the density. In other words, for people to realize you can get 20 with a wind farm, you can get 2,000 with nuclear, with coal and things like that. 20 versus 2,000, the scale is so far out of whack that when people are talking solar and wind, they don't even come close to closing that gap, how much power we need.
So, Marita, talk a little bit about, let's bring this back to the New Mexico business person, or even the New Mexico senior citizen, or even the New Mexico student. What do these policies translate down to everyday life for business people, seniors, students, and just working mothers and fathers?
Well, I mean, you get down to the bottom line is that there's a whole lot of people, especially the less fortunate, those on fixed incomes, as you said, are going to have to make a choice between heat and eat. because the price of the resource, the price of energy, electricity primarily we're talking here, the price of electricity is going to go up so dramatically that people on fixed incomes, Social Security, seniors, and so forth, are going to have to make a decision. Do I freeze and eat, or do I starve and be warm? And that's really what it comes down to. We're talking about high electricity prices at a time when working families can least afford it. And it hurts businesses because businesses are large energy users.
You know, I don't remember that being part of the green marketing pitch.
We are News New Mexico, talking on our Newsmaker line with Marita Noon. EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.com is her website. Marita, how do you deal with the fact that you give data that's very easy to get a hold of, such as something like that a lot of these projects aren't going to even come close to providing the right amount or enough energy, and then people just go, nuh-uh.
That's a difficult one because the people who are saying that, they don't really want to see or hear the data. And there's data you can choose from different sources. I try to choose the data that's from reliable sources and noted sources, and I work very hard to do the research to put together the commentaries that I do and the things that we talk about. And the other side tends to kind of do their own studies and come up with their own conclusions and base their decisions on that. And so for people who are unwilling to listen to that, frankly, I don't think there's a lot that we can do to disagree with them or confront them on these issues, because they plain just don't want to hear the truth, and you just kind of have to shrug and move on and talk to people who are willing to listen.
Now, Marita,
so that's not newspapers then, huh?
I'm sorry?
That's not newspapers then, huh? Newspaper reporters aren't listening, are they?
Well, many of them are not. Many of them in that industry tend to have their own opinion. But, I write a lot of news commentaries that are published in newspapers. I'm not talking newspaper reporters. But in Las Cruces, the Sun News publishes my stuff. And then the other side, I don't know if you saw, there was a piece in there that attacked me of making up data that was in the Las Cruces paper a week or so ago, and they don't cite any specific thing that I did that's wrong. They just say, well, I'm not concerned with the truth, and then I lie. And so when you throw around things like that, it's a difficult thing to fight with people who don't want to hear the facts.
Now, Marita, I know you probably don't want to talk about this, but we have to bring this up. You have a new book out.
I do.
She doesn't want to talk about her new book.
Talk about the title of it, what's it about, and where people could buy it if they wanted a copy of it.
Well, I'll give you that answer first. They can go to EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. And, Michael, I hate to correct you, but you repeatedly say .com.
.org, I got it now.
EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. The name of the book is Energy Freedom, and it's a really easy read. It's written for newly politically aware Americans who are scared to death about where America is heading and want to know the role that energy plays in their life, and then most importantly, what they can do about it. And also, I will be speaking in Las Cruces this Friday. 2 days from now, I will be speaking for the Doña Ana County Republican Women's Luncheon at Good Samaritan Village.
There you go.
Marita, I'm actually looking on the website right now. Is this your 20th book?
It is my 20th book, thank you.
Yes, well, that's fantastic.
Wow.
So
it's my first book in the public affairs genre, and it is my first book on energy. In my former life, I have been a Christian motivational speaker for my entire adult life until the last 5 years, and so my previous books, which are all available on Amazon, address relationships, communication, and other issues along that line.
Huh, Marita, can you, now I know this is shameless, but since you're going to be in Las Cruces, maybe you could stop by the News New Mexico studios and give us an autographed copy of that book.
I would be honored to do that. I'll be there in the morning to do the show live with you, but I'd be delighted to drop by and drop off a few books for you.
That would be wonderful, Marita.
Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. Her new book, Energy Freedom. We thank you for what you do, Marita.
Thank you, too. I appreciate your help.